You know, Mondays are tough on a lot of us because it means going into a job that you're not really feeling. But what if we change the game? On the next episode of Connect TV, meet Black professionals who are in uncommon fields that are redefining what it means to be a Black activist.
You've been craving a change in Black media, and Let's Buy Black's Positive Black Media Project is bringing it to you every Monday night. Get your fix with the all-new breakout show that features the best in Black music, culture, education, business, fitness, technology, entertainment, and lifestyle. Get ready to meet your new favorite host, along with brilliant entrepreneurs, powerful activists, chefs. Watch a segment featuring your favorite positive Black media producers, youth initiatives, community organizations, elders, business leaders, world leaders, hot entertainers, and more. Tune in Mondays at 8 p.m. to connect.
Let's Buy Black 360.
Let's Buy Black 360. Let's Buy Black 365.
It's everything. We're blacking it out.
Get plugged in and tune in to letsbuyblack365.com/connecttv. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Connect by Let's Buy Black 365. I'm your host, Nataki.
And I'm Tyler.
And we have another fantastic show. This season has been absolutely amazing.
We promised that we would do this.
Right.
We delivering now.
Yeah, and the feedback from everyone has also just been really, really stellar. The comments, the suggestions. Yeah. So many people want to be on the show or recommend people for the show. And we've got some people coming up with some really, really interesting segments. So we're just really excited.
Absolutely. And keep them coming. Like all the comments, all the suggestions, any type of interactions, engagements that you have, like just keep them coming. Yeah.
And we're definitely excited to have new members on the team. So you're going to meet some new people throughout the season, and it's going to be good.
Absolutely.
Going to be good. So tonight, though, is all about just... I like how we phrased it. Ways to make Mondays suck less. Like, you know, sometimes it's like the weekend is so good, and you know,
you don't want to give it up. Like you see that Monday, and you just like, Sunday at like 5, 6 o'clock. You know, you got to get up in the morning. I'm like, no, not ready.
But there are some people who actually love their jobs and have found a way to actually do a combination of, you know, what it is that they love to do and do some community give back at the same time. So we're excited to meet some of those people coming up a little later up in the show.
Oh, yeah. So the show is based off some uncommon type of professions and everything. So before the show, you know, I did some research on just to see what careers or areas are ordinarily not populated by Black people. And a couple of them that I came across was veterinarians, molecular biologists, you know.
Shout out to Mason,
you know,
one of the brothers on the crew.
Yeah, rocket scientists, hedge fund managers, and pilots.
Right. And so what is most interesting to me about that list is that some of those are the most lucrative careers that you can think of. And so, you know, there's some stereotypes where people say, well, you know, just try and get a good job with benefits. But pursuing, I know there's nobody in our audience. I'm sure people in our audience have heard other people say that.
Right.
But when we actually look at, you know, if you're actually trying to pursue something for yourself or trying to, you know, think about what careers your children may pursue. These are the kinds of fields that we don't want to say, oh, okay, well, they're not Black. You want to think, okay, well, these are fields that are in demand. They're not going anywhere. You know, pets aren't going anywhere. So the veterinary profession is definitely one that is stable. You know, pilots are needed unless, you know, there's a lot in the news now about artificial intelligence replacing all of us. But
we can get into it, gets there. Like,
right. But for now, so I think it's important because one of the things that we do recognize is that a lot of the careers that are chosen tend to be careers that don't have a lot of income potential or have income ceilings. So, yeah.
And it's interesting because typically, like going to school, when you're going to college, you know, a lot of, whether it be family or whoever have you, whatever advice that you may get is just like, do what you love, do what makes you feel right. But there's a component about that is like, you need to make money too. Right. You know, you need to make money, and a lot. And I'll talk a little bit about the liberal arts field, for instance. Like some things that you hear going into the liberal arts field, and those are like your, what is that? The philosophies and the psychologies, writing type of stuff, political science. It got a lot of backlash just because of the aspect of when you get those type of degrees, they don't have, the potential for getting like high paying jobs aren't as compared to like engineers or mathematicians and stuff like that. Right. Well, not so much psychology because they're like in the medical, but but I see what you're saying. And one of the things that I speak to a lot of youth groups and student organizations, I tend to give a little bit different advice. My advice tends to be look at a field or profession that you could enjoy doing, but that actually will give you the lifestyle that you want without breaking any ethical barriers or anything. So, you know, if you're violently against animal testing, then don't, you know, go into something that does that. But do something that is profitable, because if you are earning at one of the highest income levels, then you end up having a lot of the freedom to do the other things that you like as hobby. So, you know, I meet a lot of struggling musicians, for example, and they're like, okay, in college, I'm just going to do music. Afterwards, I'm just going to do music. And I've met some successful musicians who majored in something else completely in school and then were able to use the earnings for that to finance their album, finance their whole music career, and be the ones to self-finance. So it's a little bit different starting with the earnings and being able to finance or even have the freedom to do it than it is to try and do it the other way. And I think that's extremely important, because one of the things that as a community isn't often taught is just that financial piece, like being financially literate and understanding the fields that you get into and how we can fund those that that's your passion. You know? Right.
And I'll give one more example. I knew someone who was an actuarial scientist who made upwards of $200,000 a year. And actuarial science is absolutely boring. I'm kicking myself a little bit because my parents actually sent me to an SAT preparation program at Florida A&M. And that whole program was designed to entice students to do actuary science. But I was like, well, it's boring and you don't get to interact with people. But what I recognize in hindsight and what I know about this particular individual, she's able to work maybe 20 hours a month. As I said, she makes well over $200,000 a year. She travels frequently. Her family gets to move from country to country because that's what they like to do. Her children are multilingual. They're homeschooled, but it's just, she has the freedom to finance the lifestyle that she wants. So again, it's not so much about, do I want to do this job every day? Or, you know, do I like this? It could be, I don't have to like it. I do it 20 hours a month, and now I have freedom to do the things that I do like.
Are they hiring? Maybe I'm in the wrong field.
It's a highly competitive field. You do have to get degrees in it, and so it might be a little too late since you have a law degree and all.
The funny part about it, though, is like, if I had to do it again, I've been seriously considering engineering, just because, you know, with engineering, I don't know, maybe they do exist, but I don't know a broke engineer. And like engineering you have the ability to develop and transform societies. And I really like that because you can transplant that anywhere that you go.
Exactly. And so careers with universal skills are always profitable. So, you know, with that, we've got some really amazing guests for you. Everybody gets on me because I always say amazing, but hey, if it fits.
Incredible.
If it fits, right. No, my words are amazing and awesome. So,
amazing.
But we're going to take a break. We're going to, and then we'll be back and you'll meet one of our fascinating guests who is in one of the uncommon careers that is making a powerful difference in the Black community.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back.
Aluna kande so diala. Aluna kande folila aluna kande dugu diala.
Aluna kande so diala. Aluna kande folila aluna kande so diala.
Aluna kande so diala. Aluna kande jembe fola aluna kande dugu diala.
Aluna kande so diala. Aluna kande folila aluna kande so diala.
Yeah, aluna kande so diala. Aluna kande folila aluna kambara dugu diambolo.
Aluna kande so diala. Aluna kande folila aluna kande so diala.
Aluna kande so diala. Aluna kande sewa de luna kande dugu diala.
Aluna kande so diala. Aluna kande folila aluna kande so diala.
Hello, my name is Kamal.
Welcome back, everybody. In this segment of Connect by Let's Buy Black 365, we're looking at how scuba diving is actually changing Black history. And we're so excited. Today we have with us Brother Kamal Siddiqui.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for having me.
Yeah, so let's dive right in. Can you talk a little bit about why so many Black people are getting back into scuba diving?
Yes, sure, Natasha. Scuba diving is a very exciting sport. Actually, if you look at the history of Black people near the water, we've been in the water for a very long time. Actually, if you look at the free divers in the Caribbean, around Africa, and we've been fishing, been fishers for a very long time. And so, but now we're sort of formalizing that, using equipment, and Black folks have been into scuba since the 1940s, 50s. Wow. And you've heard of Men of Honor, that famous movie with Oscar. Mr. Bashir, he was a first Navy diver.
Okay.
So my teacher, 1959, been diving since 1959. Wow. And he started a dive club, and we'll be celebrating 60 years next year, 2019. 60 years of Black diving, incredible Black diving. Yeah. So I'm a part of a larger organization called the National Association of Black Scuba Divers, and our local club here, Underwater Adventure Seekers, which Dr. Albert Jose Jones founded. Again, I've been diving for 60 years. So it's been Blacks and scuba diving is an incredible legacy. Yeah, a little known story that we need to get back into the collective memory.
Very much so, wow.
Yeah. So how is it that underwater archaeology has changed Black history?
Good question, Talib. But first, for your audience, what is archaeology? Archaeology is essentially the study of stuff we've left behind as we lived our lives over the course of history, artifacts essentially. And from those artifacts, we infer meaning. You know, how did they live? So underwater archaeology is essentially doing that underwater.
Oh, wow.
Of course, we don't have gears, right? So we need gear. I'm part of an organization called Diving with a Purpose, and what we do in relative to underwater archaeology, Nataka, is that we study a little-known piece of history called African slave ships.
Wow.
Yeah, there was some 12,000 or so vessels involved in the so-called African slave trade, but we only know about 5 or 6 of those vessels that's really been documented. That's incredible. Yeah, so there's an incredible body of knowledge and information that we need to bring back into our collective memory. And so with Diving with a Purpose, what we do is we use underwater archaeology to help tell that story. We go down, we find these wrecks, we study them, we document them, we look at all the artifacts around the wreck to learn out how it got there. We do some terrestrial research as well to get some background information before we get in the water. Yes, on the land. Yes, to help tell this incredible story. And there are some incredible stories out there. And there's a significant amount of them. There's the Guerrero. You might have heard the Clotilda. I worked on one specifically off the coast of South Africa called the Sal Sazé, which is in the National Museum of African American History and Culture. So these are incredible stories that we need to bring back into our collective memory. And so that's how we're sort of changing the face of Black history, adding this story to that incredible database of the sojourn of our people in this country.
Excellent.
And I'm curious, I know there was some misinformation a long time ago that said there were no slave ships. You know, we didn't get here by slave ships. And so I'm hearing that it's important for people to begin documenting this because it's how we do our own fact checking about our own history and make sure that the information that's circulated in the Black community is the real documented history and not just kind of, you know, supposition by those. You may just want to create something.
When I hear that sort of stuff, I just relegate it quickly to the category of fake news. Right. Absolute fake news. But the historical record, the archaeological record, even the anthropological record is extremely clear. On, you know, there were slave ships, and that's a rich resource out there that identifies that. So we can refute that very, very quickly and move on and do the more critical work of documenting those stories and putting that narrative back into the collective memory of what that period was like. I mean, each one of these ships has their own unique stories. Just real quickly, Natake, on the Guerrero, this is a vessel that left the coast of West Africa in 1727, and it got hijacked. From 500 Africans was hijacked off this vessel, not once but twice. It eventually wrecked off the coast of Key Largo. The story is incredible. I don't have time to tell the whole story here, but 41 Africans perished in the accident. It was hijacked again. 300 of them ended up in Cuba. 120 ended up in Key West. And the sojourn of those 120 people is an incredible story. Ultimately, they ended up in Liberia. That's another quick one, the Lucidin. The Lucidin was a Dutch East India Company vessel. It was what we call a supermax vessel. It was one of those super slave ships, if you will. Had some 700 individuals on it. It was trying to get to Suriname. It eventually crashed, but before it crashed, the captain knew that he was going to lose the vessel and decided to abandon ship. But before he said to abandon ship, he decided to lock down the hatches with 700 African souls in the hull, in the hull of this ship, and they eventually perished over a 2 or 3 day period while the ship broke up and fell into the sea. Who knows that story?
That's right.
We need to bring those stories back into the collective memory.
Absolutely.
So the historical record, the archaeological record, the anthropological record is very, very clear on evidence of slave vessels coming to this country. And the material evidence is just incredible body of material evidence. So when we hear that, we have to push back real hard and be very, very clear, because we're talking about the lives and souls. Most academics say 12 million people, but it easily was 15 to 20 million people that was part of this crime against humanity called the African slave trade.
Also called the Ma'afa is the other term that has been attributed to this.
That's correct. Yeah.
So, wow, this is really fascinating, and just the fact that, you know, as a sport you can get into scuba diving, but then also as a historian you can embark on a whole new career as an underwater archaeologist. This is fantastic.
Yes. Ways in which people didn't necessarily think, like you can tap
Exactly.
into.
That's correct, and particularly black folks. So in order to do the underwater archaeology, you have to scuba dive.
Yes.
Yes.
Take us to the water.
So, can you show us a little bit about the equipment and how it works?
Sure, absolutely. I'll be happy to. So, Talib, Nataki, in order to scuba dive, it's under the water, right? We don't have gills, right?
Right.
So we need to take some air with us.
Okay.
So this is called a scuba tank, and it has the air supply that we use to scuba, and it's under tremendous pressure, so we have to know how to manage it. So stand back, show you the pressure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a lot of pressure, and that's it. And with that amount of air now under pressure, we can stay under the water. It depends on the depth, but generally around 45 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
So to regulate all that pressure, we have what's called a regulator here.
Okay.
But before we get to the regulator, we're going to set up here.
Wow.
As you scuba dive, you need something to help you be buoyant in the water.
Okay.
And this is called a BCD, a buoyancy control device. It's like a jacket we put on, and we wear it.
Like a life jacket.
Yeah, it's like sort of like it is. It sets you to like.
Yeah, it really is a life jacket.
So we slip it over the tank, like so. And then, I don't know if you already see it, but I have a strap on the back.
Okay.
We just set it up in the strap, tighten it down so it don't slip off.
Okay.
And we take the regulator and attach it to the tank and the buoyancy control device. Flip it over here real quickly. And attach it. And we take the little pressure hose here, we attach it to the buoyancy control device. That's what's going to deliver our air. And this is the regulator. These are the regulator we breathe out of. This is the primary. And we all, for safety purposes, we dive with a buddy. And they run out of air. Hey, take this one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Somebody was thinking.
Right. And so when you dive, you know, there's a lot of parameters that's going on. So this is my dive computer. It tracks how much air I'm breathing.
Oh, nice.
And so if you see that thing says 0,
Yes.
I show the audience here, and I turn this on. See the numbers growing there?
Oh, yeah.
So when I turn it on all the way, it goes up to about 3,000 PSI. You can see that.
Wow.
And that's how much pressure is coming out of it?
That's coming out of here,
Okay.
yeah. And so, but you can see it has some pressure in there. And if we take this thing, you can hear the pressure coming out of here. Yeah, the air comes through here, and that's what we breathe. Put it in your mouth. That's what causes the bubbles to come up.
Okay.
Okay. Once we get it attached to the tank, we connect it up here, and we use these things. This is called the first stage. This reduce all that pressure, and this reduce it down so you can make it breathable.
Oh, okay.
So you don't get that blast in your mouth.
Yeah, because I can imagine that would not be fun.
You put that in your mouth, and you're ready to go.
Wow. Okay. All right. So can we actually take this to the water?
Let's do it.
All right.
Peace and love, family. Get This Wisdom magazine is the hottest new publication that focuses on empowering our African community. It delivers inspiring interviews, relevant articles, cultural news, spiritual tips, health and wellness, children's activities, and more. Y'all gotta read this, family. Go to www.getthiswisdommagazine.com now. I mean, right now.
From antiquity to the present, our people need to develop a new paradigm. It's time for an awakening with your host, Brother Elliot. Sundays, 7 p.m., Fridays at 8 p.m. For podcasting or live program scheduling, hit us up at Time for an Awakening. gmail.com.
Imagine everything you could do while New Business Solutions starts, helps, or scales your company. You could work a full-time job, travel the world, plan for the future, spend time with loved ones, help your community, take time for yourself, get back to basics, breathe a sigh of relief. When will you be ready to finally get to where you want to be? Call 301-244-9072 or visit newbusinesssolutions.com to book your free consultation.
All right, Brother Kamal, so how do we actually put this on?
Yes, so Nataki, we're going to put this here on you.
Okay.
Put the regulator in your mouth and see how it feels.
Okay.
The stick slides up to there. And then just like putting on the jacket.
Yeah, it's like putting on a backpack.
Now, once you get it on, there's something called cummerbunds. Reach it around.
Oh, yeah.
And pull it, and I know the one here. Yeah, I got it. And wow. Oops.
Uh-oh.
It has Velcro
Suck
there.
it in,
Hold
suck
it
it in.
Suck it in, yeah. And so that's it.
Okay.
We can make some adjustments here. Like pulling it down here, make it tight across your shoulder. And there's a strap that goes across here as well.
Okay.
So, but that's basically it. You have.
And I'm still on my tiptoes, I don't know why.
Yeah, don't stand on your tiptoes, just relax. Now let's see if we can get the mask on.
Okay.
Actually, before we do that, I'll just show you very easily how easy it is to breathe underwater. This is the regulator.
Okay. This is the same one you had?
Yes. Just breathe normally, just like you breathe. Yeah, it's the same one I have. It's been in the water. Now I'm going to get the stick. Yes. See? Yes. Very good. That was nice. Just bite down on it.
Okay.
Just bite down. There. Perfect. Now wrap your lips around it. Take a breath. Breathe. Don't go on. Let's just breathe.
I'm sorry.
Stay on the surface and just breathe. Breathe. I'm going to hold your nose so that folks know that you're actually breathing. She's actually breathing through it. Breathe. 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 Perfect. See how easy it is to breathe? Yeah. So now, that's very easy. You do the same thing underwater.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can we try it? Oh, okay. Never.
Yeah, let's give it a quick try.
Okay.
But you need a mask.
Okay.
You need a mask. Mask fit on your nose right there. You got to breathe now. You have to breathe through your mouth, right?
Right.
Look at me talking. Now, mask. What's your mask? You're just going to put your face down on it. It's hard to go down because the mask might cut. Okay. Just relax. Regulator in your mouth again. Breathe through the regulator. Breathe through the regulator. Breathe it. Okay. Just go forward. Breathe. Okay. Don't relax. She's breathing hard. That's good enough. She was breathing hard. Make sure she gets some air under there. Very good, Natasha. So that's an intro. If your audience is interested in taking scuba, that's intro classes that we do.
Oh, that was it?
We're glad to get you in.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I was trying to get you up under there.
No, it's a little bit more training.
You got training, so
to make it go deep. Yeah, she's not quite comfortable in the water.
Yeah. Evidenced by the Darth Vader breathing technique that I was doing.
But that was good. That was good. But you see how easy to breathe with the equipment. That's the idea.
Yeah.
You can trust the equipment, relax in the water, and breathe in the sea.
Okay. All right. Well, that was awesome. So, everybody, I'm Nataki, and we've been here with Brother Kamal Siddiqui of the National Association of Black Scuba Divers. For more information about the National Association of Black Scuba Divers and for some of the bonus footage, visit us at letsbuyblack.com/connecttv, and we'll see you in the next segment.
Thanks, Natasha.
He is cracking up over here, y'all. He is cracking up.
The behind the scenes with that was crazy.
So I have serious germ issues. So I won't like eat or drink or anybody who I wouldn't kiss on the mouth. And so when he had the breathing thing that he was trying to put in my mouth, I was like, I don't think so. And Talib was like, keep rolling.
Keep rolling. We got to get it for the audience.
My face was like, and I kept laughing because I'm like, I know he's not putting that thing in my mouth that he just had it in his mouth. So not that he's not a perfectly nice guy. I mean, he's got the same first name as my father. So very, very nice.
And he washed it off for you too. Put in the water, you know?
Right. In the pool water. I was like, oh my gosh. So the heavy breathing was because I was literally in the water like,
panic attack.
But it was, honestly, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I really want to do scuba diving now. And, we have some bonus footage. So if you're subscribed to letsbyblack.com, you can check out some of the bonus footage. He actually goes in a little bit more deeply about how you do diving. And he actually does some diving himself there. So check out that bonus footage. But that was so much fun. It
was. Just witnessing it. And I honestly didn't think about scuba diving like that. You hear about it and, it's like the banal part of it, like just topical stuff. But the fact that he does archaeology with it is like really tremendous. And dispelling those myths just about that whole, slave trade didn't exist and all the like.
And to have the organization Diving with a Purpose. So, even if you are in a professional job that you don't necessarily love, this is something that, if you, know how to swim or learn how to swim, and then you learn how to scuba dive and get certified in that, you can then become an underwater archaeologist and be one of the documentarians of our history through this. So, it's just an incredible thing that he's put together. And he is the president of the National Association of Black Scuba Divers. So it was a real treat to have him on the show with us.
Right. And the bonus is you get to go and travel. So, you get to scuba dive, be in the water, and off the coast of Africa, off the coast of Australia, like maybe once a month or something like that. Like that right there just is an incentive for me to sign up.
And then to meet other people who are also historians and everything. Just there's been a rise lately of all of these YouTube stars who are putting out fake information and fake controversy and all this, but and many who don't have a lot of facts or information when they do it, to be perfectly honest. And so the fact that there is a way that we can actually create more people with actual information and actual things to share and say is really, really incredible. So check out more about Diving with a Purpose and the National Association of Black Scuba Divers on Connect by Let's Buy Black 365. And we're going to take a break and introduce you to our next guest.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Peace and love, family. Get This Wisdom magazine is the hottest new publication that focuses on empowering our African community. It delivers inspiring interviews, relevant articles, cultural news, spiritual tips, health and wellness, children's activities, and more. Y'all gotta read this, family. Go to www.getthiswisdommagazine.com now. Right now. Peace and love, family. Get This Wisdom magazine is the hottest new publication that focuses on empowering our African community. It delivers inspiring interviews, relevant articles, cultural news, spiritual tips, health and wellness, children's activities, and more. Y'all gotta read this, family. Go to www.getthiswisdommagazine.com now. I mean, right now.
We all see those crime scene shows and all that, but we're going to learn what the real science behind forensics is. And we have two experts here with us. We have Sashana and Markia. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I know you both have talked about how important it is to have more Black forensic scientists work in the criminal justice system. Sashana, tell me a little bit about why you think that's important.
Well, I feel like it's very important for us to be able to understand forensic science and how science applies to law. And especially for the Black community, we have a lot of discrepancies with the law at times, and we really need to understand how the science works. So for one, I think if we want to see a change in the criminal justice system, we need to be a part of that change. And being in the forensics field, being in the laboratory, working on different evidence, different crimes, we'll be able to have a better understanding of how we can apply our science to the law and how we can make a difference to the criminal justice system.
Oh, wow. All right. And do you feel the same, or what are some of your thoughts?
I do. I feel like as Black people in general, we need to be educated when we are actually involved in legal cases with forensic science. We need to understand, you know, the science behind the field, because your life is determined based on machines and different variations of probability, testing and things of that nature. And and I don't think lawyers understand that information, but if we as Black
consumers,
people, yes, and consumers understand that, we'll understand how it's actually argued in court.
And we can understand whether our attorney is actually advocating for us in the best way possible.
Absolutely.
Okay, okay. Fantastic. So I know you guys brought some fun stuff for us to do today in terms of what you guys do on a daily basis. So what do you have for us?
So there are a lot of things that we use for fingerprint examination. And let me start with the training. So I'll back up just a little bit. Everyone on their hand has a friction ridge. You have it on your hand as well as your feet. Friction ridge is the portion of your skin, or the raised portion of your skin. And on your friction ridge, you have pores running along that friction ridge. And it looks, I'm going to show you what a microscopic view looks like. This is a microscopic view of what your pores look like on your friction ridge skin. Your friction ridge skin is developed 3 months into gestation, so when you're developing in your parent's womb. So whenever you touch or handle an item, a reproduction of your friction ridge is actually left behind on a surface. And that surface works as or your hands work as a stamp, where it literally is just a copy of your friction ridge.
Okay.
Everyone's friction ridge or fingerprints is categorized into 3 main categories, which are loops, arches, and whorls. Majority of the population has loops, which is about, when I say majority, that's about 60 to 65%. About 25 to 30% have whorls, and the smallest percent, which would be about 5% of the population in the world, are about arches.
Okay.
So if you look at your hand and you're able to see some of these patterns, you can determine whether or not you have arches, loops, or whorls. Now, you may have a combination of all 3 on your hand. You may have just one of these patterns, but this is how you are mainly categorized into a fingerprint database.
So what I'm going to get you to do is to take a look at your fingerprint. Maybe start with your right thumb and see if you can identify if you have a loop, which is ridges are flowing from one side of your of your finger, and then it makes a rise or curve in the center, and it exits upon the same side from which it entered. If you have an arch, the ridges flow from one side of your finger, and they make a rise, and they exit upon the opposite side of your finger.
Okay.
And then if you have a whorl, it's more looking like a circuit. And there are different types of whorl patterns that you have, but if it's an overall, it looks more like a circuit. Okay. So see if you can identify which pattern you have on your right thumb, for example.
Okay. So I think I have a loop.
I think you have a loop?
Yeah. Is that a loop?
You have a whorl. You
A
have
whorl.
more of a, if you look at the bottom half of your finger, you have more of a circular pattern on your finger.
Okay. You all are able to use the patterns, and then how does that go from being able to see the patterns to actually being able to identify someone based on the patterns?
So before I answer that question, I have to give you two important details.
Okay.
Because in order for us to identify someone or to individualize someone, there are two things that are really important. There are two factors we must consider, and that's permanence and uniqueness. So as Markia explained, at around 3 months of gestation, your fingerprints are formed, and they remain unchanged throughout a person's life or throughout your life until decomposition, with the exception of mutilation or
so until you die, until you die, that fingerprint is with you. Okay.
Exactly. And we've, there have been prints recovered from this unknown deceased that we've been able to identify.
Oh, wow.
So because your fingerprint is located, the blueprint of your fingerprint is located on the basal layer of your finger, you're able to continually have a permanent structure. And you can have a cut, like a paper cut on your finger, and those friction ridges go back exactly the way that they were.
Oh, wow.
Unless it damages that basal layer.
Okay.
And when we say that your fingerprint is unique, we mean that there are no two different individuals that share the same rich characteristics, not even identical twins, and not even the same person with two different fingers, because your fingerprints are unique to you.
Okay. So take us through what you do.
Sure. So when we get, and here's an example, but when we get a latent impression, and I'll explain what a latent impression is. So we get cases coming from a crime scene, and we have to be able to identify who that friction ridge belongs to. So a latent impression is the unintentional reproduction of a friction ridge skin, and it needs to be physically or chemically enhanced to be seen or collected.
All right, so welcome back, everybody.
It's always interesting to learn about the whole forensic science CSI type of thing.
Right.
Growing up, you see that, it's for me, it was like, yo, that's the profession, because you get to solve unsolved mysteries, murders, and all that stuff. So to see the Queen sitting up here doing that and actually showing us how to do it and what goes into it is really dope.
Right. And if you're subscribed to Connect by Let's Buy Black 365, you have access to the outtakes, and you've got to see the outtake where we actually ask her about the comparison between what she really does in real life and CSI, because her facial expression was absolutely hilarious. So, like most things, TV distorts the real world versus. Yeah, that is true. And apparently, CSI has done a lot of damage too. She was like, it's not like CSI. It was so funny, right? But we oftentimes think of just professions that are entrepreneurial in terms of what you can go into. But I love the point that they're saying, the criminal justice system affects all of us, because, the way police are able to get away with what they're able to get away with. We all know stories of people who have been victims of
incarcerated.
Exactly. And so having persons in the lab to make sure that there's an accurate system of checks and balances in place is important. And, it's not something that we tend to think of, that, if an entire department is filled with people who hate you, then and have historically done some corrupt things to falsely imprison people, then it makes a lot of sense that we need more scientists to be in fields and maybe even have independent labs to do some testing so that we can enforce the justice that this country is supposed to be about, but that we all know it's not.
Absolutely. And there was a case recently, I think it was in Mississippi, where you had the police planting, even though it's nothing different than what you would normally hear, but you had the police planting evidence on a couple of the brothers to get them incarcerated, and then they get incarcerated and have these 20-year sentences and stuff like that.
Right.
So to be exonerated from fingerprints is like crucial. Crucial when it comes to like when you're representing clients and you're actually putting your case for the court.
And you know, to hear also how deep it goes. So, you know, they need people not just in fingerprinting, but in, you know, DNA testing and blood testing. And, you know, there were a couple other areas that she talked about. So these are just, you know, careers that is really interesting to think of. And, you know, it's never too late to, you know, pursue a degree. And, you know, I talked with someone recently who was like, well, I'm already out of school and blah, blah, blah. And I actually kind of got on her because I was like, you know, you just showed me your news feed because I'm not on European social networks like that. I was like, you just showed me all the stuff in your news feed. I guarantee if you aggregated all of that time that you're spending and put it towards something educational, you could be in a field that pays a lot better. So you wouldn't, well, I won't say it. I won't frame it that way. So it gives you more options. How about that?
But the crazy part about it is a lot of people don't think of it like that because it's, if you think of forensic science, not even forensic science, but just like going either back to school, pursuing a degree, or trying to get another job or change your career, you think of it like, oh God, I got to study. I got to do all this reading. I got to take these tests. It's going to cost. And I don't know if it's just how we've been conditioned to think that things are so arduous and hard to do, but it really, once you get into it and then you see the end and with the risk versus the reward of it all, then it's like, let me jump into it now.
Exactly. And so, you know, going to a job that you hate for 40 hours a week and then, you know, using that as an excuse to do other things that are stress relievers when you could actually just put yourself in a position. And, you know, there's so many things for now, you know, they might be going away, but there's so many opportunities for now to even get help and subsidies for your education that it doesn't necessarily, you know, the price tag doesn't necessarily have to be a barrier. So, yeah, these, you know, just really, really thankful for our guests tonight.
Yes.
Brother Kamal Siddiqui and the Diving with the Purpose crew. I guess next time I will have to bring my own breathing apparatus. And Makia and Sister Shoshana, our forensic scientists who did our little fingerprinting. I got fingerprinted. That was really fun. Awful, you know, fun in this setting. It was fun. So, yeah. If you guys are in some uncommon professions or know of fields that you think we need more Black faces, let us know and send us some pictures or some video. Do some selfie videos and we can feature them on the show or on Connect. But that's been it for us tonight. Yeah,
you know, tune in once again next week. We're going to have an awesome, that's your word, amazing.
Yeah, because it's getting warm out there, or it's about to get warm and spring is here. And we've had so many requests about gardening and urban gardening and, you know, what if I live in an apartment? So we're actually going to show you some easy planting tips. We're going to do some gardening. Talib's going to get his hands dirty a little bit. You'll meet one of our new broadcast journalists and see some performances. So it'll be a great show.
Absolutely. Well, it's been Let's Buy Black. I'm Talib.
I'm Nataki.
We're blacking out.